1. I used to be a shift lead at a locally owned drive-thru coffee establishment in Arizona. Awesome co-workers, awesome customers, and just an all-round fun job. There's a lot of lingo that goes along with being a barista, one of my favorites being the term breve, to describe a cup of steamed half and half with any number of espresso shots. It is my favorite term because of the following events. Early shift, Sunday morning 6 a.m., hungover from the night before. The hot morning sun is scowling into my eyeballs through my squinted eyelids. I cradle my shift drink in my palms like the lost Holy Grail. Cue the Sunday morning rush. Everything is dandy as myself and my coworkers bust out line after line of cars awaiting their delicious, delicious caffeinated beverages. Smiles all around until know-it-all Nancy arrives in her oppressively expensive Buick. My coworker approaches the Buick with a point-of-sale tablet in hand. The shenanigans begin. Their interaction appears tense, and she returns shortly after, appearing confused. She wants a 32-ounce iced breve latte, no ice with a single shot. What do I do? Ah, yes, half and half with a splash of espresso. For those who are unfamiliar, this woman had asked my coworker for a 31-to-1 ratio of half and half and espresso, and was apparently rather rude about it. Sounds like a job for the shift lead. Now it's my turn to talk to Nancy. Hello, miss. So you asked for a 32-ounce iced breve latte, no ice with a single shot, correct? Yes. Starbucks does it for me all the time. It's just coffee and cream. How hard can that be? And then she called my coworker an R word that polite people do not use. She clearly wanted a cup of coffee with a splash of half and half. But we were now past the point where I felt obligated to correct her grave mistake. I was fuming. My coworker, being in earshot, understandably burst into tears and disappeared into the storage room. Nancy showed no shame. Okay, ma'am, I repeat her drink order back, word for word, once more, before she confirms with all the arrogance she could muster. Like my wage master says, the customer is always right. When I return with her snow-white beverage, she loses all of her shit, gone out the window. Her face glows beet red as she complains, "That is not what I ordered." And then she asks me if I'm that same awful R-word too. Yes, ma'am. Have a blessed day. I shut the window and step back to watch her wide mouth lob obscenities towards the glass. Through her tantrum, she attempts to throw the 32-ounce cup filled with half and half at the drive-thru window, but it catches on the frame of her Buick window instead, thus spilling all that milky retribution into her lap and on her upholstery. Sweet, sweet karma. With one last F.U., she sped off into the morning sun, never to be seen by myself or anyone else at the shop again. The real kicker is that this was during the summer, so if she didn't have time to get her car cleaned out, it definitely smelled like rotting milk by the end of the week. My coworker felt better after I explained the event she'd missed. We finished the day joking and laughing about know-it-all Nancy and her big, stinky Buick. Be nice to tipped workers. Thank you. 2. In Peru, when I was 17, I worked at a small restaurant. Mr. Bill, the owner, asked me to help him with a family party before my working time. I said, sure, I'll help as long as you pay me, of course, and he agreed. It was 8 extra hours, a full day. Instead of getting $15, I was supposed to get $20, but he refused to pay. He didn't even try to make excuses or justify it. He just said no. We have had a similar incident with him before, with my flexible shift, which would be worth $5 no matter if we closed at 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. He said, some days are busier than others, such is life. He was an asshole, by the way. He dated other women behind his wife's back, brought them to the restaurant, and he was drunk most of the time whenever he showed up. He was way taller than me, around 50 years old. I couldn't really do much to fight this. So I played it cool and decided to keep working for him because I needed the money, and it was hard to find a job without being 18. I only worked on weekends, but I had been there for several months, so I knew everybody's schedule and how it worked. From the very day this bastard stole my money, I became the most stupid employee you could ever have. I started to give as many customers as possible, as many free items as I could. A couple having a date, ordering just one beer each and a snack. I got you, mate. You both get an extra beer. Hungry family ordered a medium pizza. I accidentally made it extra large with extra expensive ingredients. My bad. Sodas are too expensive to order more. Let me offer you some free juice. Nobody will notice. Chicken wings were supposed to be served in 6. Damn it, I thought it was in 8. Big table of 8 people ordered 20 items. I only wrote 17. No idea what's missing. An extra large pizza, a salad, and a hamburger. I kept it to the limit, right where the acceptable losses and the not important enough were. I only did it with things I knew would be hard to notice or control, like the sudden amount of 10 or 20% extra cheese and meat in all items. As it was a small family restaurant, I was alone for long periods almost every day. There could also be another part-time worker who didn't care or notice what was going on. Months of small losses must have been an average of $10 to $20 a day, $30 to $60 a week, $120 to $240 a month, all for not giving me my $5 And right before I quit, I stole $10 or $20 because I just couldn't keep the injustice out of my mind. Am I proud of this? No. Not the 40-year-old grown-up me, today, but the 17-year-old Robin Hood me still is. 3. This story started last year, and as we get close to the holidays, I thought about this. My wife has an aunt, Cindy, and she is a very unbearable person. She always makes things difficult, and her needs always come first. Her husband left her, and she thinks of her kids and grandchildren of being the holy gospel. My brother-in-law couldn't stand her, and neither my father-in-law. She used to be reasonably managed by my mother-in-law, however, she unfortunately passed away last year. And then we have my wife's grandmother, to where I personally think of her as one of my grandparents. She's the exact opposite and super nice. However, she is really bad at not wanting to address Cindy's behavior, as the grandma doesn't want conflict. So Cindy decided to get Grandma one of these digital picture frames, where you can send pictures from your phone or email. And the thought was Grandma can look at those photos for the people who live out of town. We are local, but her kids and grandkids are in Texas. None of us thought it was a good idea, as we all thought it was dated, and Grandma goes on Facebook. However, Cindy got it. Grandma didn't seem too excited, but she went for it. Shortly after the photo frame was up and running, she was like, "Upload your pictures, y'all." As soon as that was happening, Cindy was already trying to control the frame she got for Grandma. One of my wife's other aunts uploaded pictures of their family, and she uploaded one of their dog. Cindy flipped out and said, "This is for family only. Mom doesn't need to see dogs here." Cindy went out of her way to delete the photo. The other aunt was like, "WTF?" And when we uploaded pictures, she gave us grief. This is in despite of my wife's mother passing away back in March of last year. What helped my wife through it is our twin newborns were adopted in August of this past year, so we uploaded 3 pictures of our girls. Well, Cindy had a problem with that. She was telling us they are all baby pictures, and I said, well, they are 3 months old. And a lot of family busted out laughing. Cindy didn't appreciate it. Cindy had no problem with uploading tons of pictures of her children and grandchildren. I finally decided that I got sick of her controlling the photo album, and here is where it gets petty. So I had access to Grandma's email and her photo account. Basically how it worked is that you add people and then you approve them. You can then send from the email that is approved. What I ended up doing was creating a disposable email and then approving it. I ended up taking pictures of people's dogs posted on Reddit and started filling up the photo frame. Cindy was like, "Whose dog is that? This is supposed to be family." And when you tapped on the picture, it had a fictitious name. So Cindy would go in and be like, "How did this happen?" She would delete the accounts, and I repeated this a couple times over the months. And I would only do it when Cindy was there with family. Finally, she got really mad and got in touch with the tech support of the photo frame maker. She even got me involved to see if I could find out what's wrong. After playing dumb, she was like, "Oh, you really don't know anything? I'll call my son." Her son is as selfish as her, and she thinks he's a genius as he worked at the Apple Store and on the phone for 5 years. He, of course, was clueless. Fast forward to May of this year, Cindy kept harping on her mother that she needs to stop accepting requests she doesn't know. Finally, Grandma had enough and unplugged the frame and threw it in the drawer. She said she doesn't need the aggravation anymore and said no more of this. I kind of feel bad that I was doing all this and it made Grandma look like an elderly woman who doesn't know tech, but I feel it's worth it. Grandma never really liked the frame anyway. And thank God Cindy will be away with her kids in Texas for this year. 4. I've been playing in bands off and on for about 35 years, and this happened roughly back in 2000. We were playing as an opening act at a popular club in Dallas that frequently hosted mid-level touring acts as headliners. These would be bands that were having national radio success, but hadn't yet broken to the level where they were playing huge halls and arenas. Sometimes the bands would bring their own opening acts, but more commonly the club would enlist local acts that were a good fit with the musical style of the touring band. Bands arrive early, usually several hours early, to set up and soundcheck at a time when the crowd is minimal or non-existent. I won't name the band in question, but if you are above a certain age, you have probably heard of them. They set up their gear at the very back of the stage, where it will remain during the opening acts and do their soundcheck. The singer very quickly demonstrates that he is a total prima donna, with demands about moving the furniture, having food catered, getting lights moved, you name it, this guy wants it. Most musicians are familiar with LSD, lead singer's disease, and this guy could be the poster child, making demands that far outstrip the venue and the band's popularity level. The worst target of his wrath is the poor sound guy, who is responsible for making sure that the band sounds good through the mains, which are the speakers pointed at the crowd, but also through the monitors, which are wedge-shaped speakers pointing backwards at band members, so they can hear themselves above the roaring drums and guitars on stage. Singers have a lot of trouble hearing themselves while singing over a rock band, so the singer's monitor mix will usually be his or her own vocals, and maybe the backing vocals. Because of the way the monitor is angled, virtually nobody out front can hear what is going on in the monitors. This is important. During soundcheck, the crowd absent, the singer is tearing the sound guy a new one. The sound guy is a fixture in the local Dallas scene, and he knows what he's doing, but
"Everything sounds like shit up here no matter what you do.
And
if you can't do this right, you need to go find somebody who can."
He takes it on the chin and does his best to appease Mr. LSD. Then comes showtime. We play our set without any trouble and can hear ourselves just fine in the monitors. But then the headliners come on, and the singer is still visibly pissed, and after the first song, calls out the sound guy, which you just don't do. As their set proceeds, something strange happens. Mid-song, the singer goes flat, noticeably flat. Like he sounds bad and his pitch is wavering all over the place, and he's looking around in a panic. After about 10 seconds, everything is fine again. Next song, same thing happens. He gets to the big chorus, his pitch goes wild, and he's looking to his bandmates. They look concerned too. Then everything fixes itself. I'm still hanging around because that's good etiquette, and I notice the sound guy has a big-ass smile on his face every time this happens. He's tweaking faders on his mixing boards, but that's not unusual. That's what he's there for. But I've got to figure out what's so goddamn funny. I go over to the sound booth and yell in his ear, "What's so funny?" Because it's a loud club, and he points to a piece of rack-mounted gear and Shout explains, Autotune was in its infancy at this point, because Autotune is ridiculously complex. Autotune has to adjust pitch in a microsecond and adjust it to fit a key or scale. So we didn't have Autotune in clubs. But what we did have was pitch shifting, which is nothing but brute force pitch manipulation, He was periodically, ever so briefly, running the singer's monitor mix through a pitch shifter set to be exactly half a step sharp. Go play the white key on a piano and simultaneously play the black key next to it to hear how unpleasant this interval is. The singer is hearing himself as sharp, so he goes lower to counteract it. And the overall effect through the mains is genuinely terrible. Never piss off the sound guy. 5. So about 4 months ago, there was a new girl at my work who had moved into the area recently. One day I'm sitting at my desk and the company owner comes in to introduce her to everyone. A small company, 10 people. She is the new girl my company hired to help our accountant because his job got overwhelming. The accountants had their own little area in the back of the office with their own bathroom, and they barely interacted with us. We would only see them like twice a week if we took our lunches at the same time or if we were picking up our paychecks. Anyways, on the first day this girl is here, I'm sitting in the break room eating my lunch, and about 10 minutes into my break the new girl walks in. We make some small talk and I answer some of her questions about the company. Then my boss walks into the break room like 30 minutes later to casually ask me when I'll be done with my break, because he wants to give me updates on a project I was working on. I told him I have about 10 minutes left. I like to take some extensions on my lunch when the workload is easy from time to time. And this girl has the audacity to say, "My lunch just ended, and you were here settled eating before me. How could that be?" And my boss gave me the sharpest look. Didn't lead to anything serious because he basically had me in his office and asked if I extended my breaks often, to which I replied truthfully. And he warned me and told me he'd be watching me from now on, blah blah blah. Fast forward to the end of the day when I'm packing up and I see the new girl walking to her car parked next to mine, and she makes some small talk, casually ignoring me getting lectured for the past 30 minutes from my boss. It frustrated me that she didn't think much of snitching. The conversation finally leads to her asking where I'm headed, and I tell her I'm going to the gym a little earlier than usual because I have plans at night. She gets excited and tells me she doesn't know where the gym is in the area and asks which gym I go to. I say Planet Fitness, and she asks if we can go together so she can know where it is, so I think nothing of it and agree. She takes her own car following me. On the ride home, I zone out and get on the road that takes me home. I am not used to going to the gym right after work, and I realize I'm like 15 minutes into the drive, and I look in my rearview mirror to see this girl is still following me. Crap. I turn onto the road that takes me onto the gym and go pretty much backwards for another 10 to 15 minutes when I get to the gym and out of my car, and she asks me why the closest Planet Fitness is 30 minutes away. Insert PettyRevenge idea, I casually tell her, "Our city sucks, huh? No gyms nearby." Thinking she'll figure it out next time she checks navigation, that it's barely only 10 minutes from work. Nope, 4 months later in conversation with a group of people for a birthday party, she brings up she'll be late because it's a 30-minute ride to the gym, and then another hour and a half for her workout before she can get home and get ready. My eyes widen and laugh. I ask her if she's been taking the same path I showed her, and she says, "Yes, why?" I explain in front of everyone, and she looks so hurt. I felt kinda bad, though. I didn't intend for my small joke to turn into this big situation. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 203. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do hit the like button and share the video around with friends and family. Thank you kindly. Okay, no shoutouts today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... Alright, here's a bit of a fun one. It's a perspective thing. If you have a glass full of liquid, something you're drinking, there's only half of it left. Is it half full or half empty? Personally, I would look at that and think, that's half full. I look forward to seeing your answers in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I think I'm going to head off for now and record more stories because I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, Thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.